Hey, welcome to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. I'm your man, Big Jack. This is where we prove we are stronger together, that if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. And I'm here and I'm excited to be here with you all that's out there in the chat. And we got a wonderful panel getting ready to come up on the stage, a beautiful guest today. And I'm looking forward to having each and every one of you chip in and communicate and participate in the chat, because we got a beautiful discussion that we're going to definitely be talking about today. So I only want to hold things up. I want to get things moving because I got my man in a remote location today. So I just want to see how things are going out there. So if I can get him up on the stage, if y'all give me a second, let's get him up on the stage. Wow, Walt Talks. What's up, my brother? How you doing?
My man, what's happening, Big Jack? How you doing, sir?
Oh man, I'm loving life, and I'm glad to be here. I mean, I look forward to these shows. I mean,
Yes,
I know
sir.
we're here every Sunday and every Wednesday, but I look forward to being here with you and with our guests, and you know, Boss B back there dropping links and keeping the chat moving. So I'm excited. How are you doing?
Absolutely, man. I'm doing well, man. Can't complain. No complaints, man. Life is good. You know, taking it easy, enjoying a little R&R, if you will, and just living life, man. You know,
All
trying to
right.
stay out the way and enjoy life. You know,
So you're at a remote location right now?
something like that. Yeah,
Something like
something
that?
like that.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
something
mean,
like
we
that.
all should be a Walt Talk and have a what they
Hey,
call it,
man. You
a
know,
summer home in I'm not sure what
no,
part of.
man, no, man. I'm just down the street from my house, man. I'm in the garage. I'm in the parking garage down the street, man, in my
Oh,
car.
okay. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All right.
yeah,
No problem. I can work with that.
yeah.
Well,
hmm
I wish my parking garage looked like your parking garage. So it's
Hey,
all
man, I'm in
good.
the parking garage down the street,
Down
man.
the street. All right. No
Yeah,
problem. All
but
right.
yeah.
So, you know, our guests, we have Alex Young today, and I'm
Hey,
looking forward.
man.
You turned me on to this one. So, you know, you told me
Hey,
this is the one
man.
we got to get on the stage.
So let's get this out the way right now. Full
Okay.
disclosure: I am president of the Alex Young fan club.
Oh, wow. Wow.
She is a phenomenal young lady.
Oh,
You understand? She is a phenomenal young lady, man. I've met her 2020, so it's been about 5 years. But I'm gonna tell you, man, she is a great person. We've had a lot of great conversations, and I keep telling her she has the cheat code. She knows way too much for someone her age because she's younger than us, younger than you,
all right.
and she's just a phenomenal young lady, man. So I'm excited, and I'll get out of the way, but I just let the I am biased. I want everyone to know that now. So just let's just get that out of the way right now. Let's put that on the table. Full
Well,
disclosure:
look,
Walt is biased.
yeah, well, with the endorsement like that, and you being as you say, the president of the fan club,
President of a
let's
fan club.
let's get this superstar up on the stage so we can get
hmm
started. Then let's get her up here. All right, welcome to the stage, Alex Young. How you doing? What's going
I'm
on?
good. Good evening. How are you guys?
Alex.
And look, I just found out that the president of your fan club is my man Walt Talk. So
Absolutely.
I think
Absolutely.
I need to put myself to the side and
Hey,
let you
man.
talk so we can get this interview going.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, I'm always excited to hear good news like that. I didn't know it was the president of the fan club, but I'm sure in other
Yeah.
spaces he's something else in the fan club. But we'll just start with president for now.
Yeah,
okay.
I went rock, paper, scissors with three other guys, and I won the presidency with
You're
rock, paper,
president.
scissors. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
hmm
Look, so welcome to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. This is where we prove we are stronger together. That if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. So that's our mission. We just want to help people grow and glow. And I heard that you have been a perfect person to be on the stage and help us get there. So welcome again to the show, and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself. Because I mean, I'm not in the fan club, and I don't have no problem being a member. But introduce yourself to us and to those who are in the chat, and help us out there.
Sure. Just a little bit about me. I am a Maryland native. I was born and raised here in Maryland. I grew up in the Landover area, specifically Palmer Park. So anybody who's from there, whoop whoop. But I always say I was born and raised in Maryland, but I always say I grew up in New Orleans. I went to undergrad at Xavier University of Louisiana. That was where I would say a lot of change happened, like, something about being an adult in a city, no one and miles away from family. It just shapes you in a way you probably could have never imagined. So that's how I always say it, because New Orleans is my home away from home. But beyond that, I have a bachelor's degree from Xavier. I have a master's of public health, and I also have a master's of science in emergency health services. So a lot of my background and a lot of my passion really just comes from serving people, creating equity in spaces, and just advancing equity across like just the span of everything. So one thing about public health, it's everything. It's not something that just looks like health systems. It's built environment. It's how you breathe every day. It's how you walk down the street. It's everything that's going on around you. So my career has spanned it from local government to state government. I've done some work in the Virgin Islands, so territorial government, and just being able to see how you touch people and, again, public health as a overall scope has really been big for me. So how Walt and I met, we worked in emergency management and emergency preparedness. So again, just another layer of how much the things that are happening around you impact your actual public health and how you breathe and how you function every day as a person. So I would say that's the professional side of me, but as a personal, again, those kind of all roll into one, because really ensuring that communities are supported, are built up over time, are something that I'm passionate about just because of who I am and how I was raised. So I live in Odenton now. I was my husband, my mother, who was a huge influence. She actually helped inspire the book that I wrote, and we'll talk about that later. Silent plug there. But my mother, and then I have a stepdaughter, and I'm actually looking to give birth in the next couple of weeks. So there's a lot going on, but just who I am as a person is just really about people, pouring into people, building up people, and making people feel good. Like, we have a lot going on. There's always a lot going on, no matter where we are currently or where we've been in the past or in the future. But how you kind of create resiliency and how you respond to things is important to me. So that's just me in a nutshell, but I'm sure we'll go deeper as we get some more questions.
And thank you. That was a wonderful introduction of yourself. You've done this before, so it's not your, as they say, the first rodeo. It's not the first time you had to introduce yourself. And definitely, I appreciate your service. I mean, a lot of people don't see it. A lot of times we look at a person that's in the military, or we look at a police officer, firefighter, and we say, thank you for your service, but it's a lot behind the scenes that a lot of people don't recognize, that's doing the same or similar work and do a lot for people. Like you say, you're serving the people and you want to help them get to a spot. So that's huge. That really is huge. So you're saying down in New Orleans, were you there pre Katrina or after Katrina?
I was post Katrina.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So then when you went down there, did you see still some of the effects and help you drive where you're going to school, but you could see where the need was even from what happened down there?
Absolutely. I came to New Orleans 2008, so a good couple years after Katrina had came and went, but there were absolutely the effects. As most people know, but for those who may not know, HBCUs, and Xavier's an HBCU, they're always nestled in those communities who are often who don't get the best resources, access to things. So the effects and the impact of Katrina was still very present. You know, the neighborhoods that surround Xavier, you could still walk down and you would see the X's on the houses that were there to denote how many bodies were there, what was found in those homes. So seeing those images influenced a lot of work that happens at Xavier. So like the way we study, the way we had conversations, we're still kind of built on that. And then just being able to attend school with people who lived those experiences. Like my classmates are people who were displaced, people who had to come back to this city, who had to help rebuild the city. So you saw a level of resiliency that, like firsthand, that you probably only ever heard of on TV. You know, we saw the footage, we saw how the news portrayed things, but when you see people and have had conversations with people who were in the Superdome, who had to take those buses, who were in boats and things like that, it really shapes the way you understand how New Orleans as a community are just made up of resilient people. And it's not just based on color, it's based on a community aspect in itself. So really being able to see that shaped not just how I attended school, but how I did my studies. So when I went into the field of public health, it was because we were in areas where there wasn't access to health. Healthcare was minimal, you know, the local clinic was miles away, you know, those, what do we call them now? The urgent care, non-existent. Like your urgent care was going to the hospital downtown, which had the worst resources, that had the longest lines, the emergency care took forever to get to. So when you see that, you kind of see the disparity. And then being able to be in a classroom with people who do the work, who are funding the work, who really are invested in the community, kind of helped shape my overall view when I left that area. Because coming from Prince George's County, resource, we don't even realize sometimes how resource rich Prince George's County is until you go somewhere else and you're like, wow, we would never. And like, I never experienced that. Like I saw Black doctors, I saw Black lawyers, I saw Black government. And to see the opposite, it really wanted you to kind of work towards how do we close those gaps and how do we make the disparity smaller.
Well, and that's I remember. I mean, you're talking the Post, but I remember because I was with Southwest Airline at the time when Katrina hit. So that was one of my jobs, one of my many jobs. But anyway, and but the thing with that, it was that once it happened, Southwest, of course, they pulled all their planes out of New Orleans. Of course, we can't leave them there. And they pulled them out before the flood or before the hurricane because they knew it was going to be, no one knew it was going to be as bad as it did or what happened, right. But they did know it was coming. So they pulled all the planes out and then they flew back in, but they didn't fly back in to have normal flights. That was done. But they flew back in to get the employees that lived in New Orleans and their families. So that's what the planes went back in, just to get them and move them out of there. And now to hear you say that the X's were still on the homes and things like that, it's amazing, because I know those people were removed from their location and they put them in different cities, Baltimore and, just up and down the East Coast, so that they could continue to work and continue to take care of their family. But at the same time, a city was devastated, and to even hear that. So, and I appreciate what you're saying and how that was a motivation to allow you to, in your studies, it's like, hey, we can make a change and we can see it. You can actually see where it was needed. Some people go to school and they don't see themselves doing, I took this major, but I don't see myself ever doing it. You can actually see, I can see where this is going, like, well, will I ever get a job once I graduate, will I be able to have a career and this and that? It's like, I can see where this is going to be handy soon. As soon as I come out, I can put this right to work. And that's huge. That is huge. And I'm glad that it pushed you in, I don't say pushed you in that direction, but it did help you see yourself doing that moving forward. So what's one of the, I won't say, because I'm still confused on the major to a little bit. So give me an example of something that, since you graduated, that you had to, you found yourself in. I know you said you went overseas, you all around the United States, but give me an example, because you can help me. I'm not the smartest person in the room, and so if you can help me get there, I will help. That will help me. So, what's an example of your job and day to day once you have to go out in the field?
Sure. So, like I said before, public health for me has always been understanding it as something that touches all realms of what we see as health or our lives overall. So my undergrad degree is actually in sociology. So that's understanding people as an overall unit. So that's what kind of led me into public health. But with that, one of the things that I thought was important throughout my career is being able to experience the various just the various areas of public health, because it gives you a better way to understand people. So I've done work in maternal and infant child health. I've done work in public health preparedness, emergency preparedness. I've done work in substance abuse. I've done work in just various areas, but currently I'm actually working at the Maryland Cannabis Administration, and I'm the Deputy Director and Chief of Staff there. So again, another realm that at the first thought, you don't always think of. If you're not at the health department, you're not doing public health. But health is everywhere, and health is how it's impacting people. So my current work with the Maryland Cannabis Administration, our job is allowing for people to be able to consume and are accessing it in an equitable fashion. So it's not just in certain neighborhoods, it's not just for certain people. But one of the big things we've done in the last year since legalization in Maryland was creating a business opportunity for people who aren't formally allowed into these industries. So people who are in communities that were disproportionately impacted by cannabis arrests over the years, people who have had charges related to that, people who have not historically never been able to enter a market like this. Now, albeit it's still a market, it's still a business, but one of the big things that Maryland was about was, how do we make sure the market looks like Maryland? Maryland is made up of all types of people who look across the scope, but before it was a money's game. So people looked like people who have the most amount of money, which was very much so our white counterparts. But how do we ensure that the money has an equal opportunity to touch everybody? So one of the big pushes were, how do we do that? So we had an easier way to access and enter the market. So we offered an opportunity that was only for people who fell within those categories. And then from there, it's how do we support you? While yes, it's still federally illegal, but how do we help you find ways to find finances? How do we find ways to help you connect with other businesses that can support you, such as security, people who clean your places? How do we connect all these resources in a way that allows for the market to look more like Maryland? So again, you have that aspect, but then also it's about how are we communicating about it? I know with me being the younger one, but we know in the past how cannabis was talked about. You know, it's terrible. You know, we had those eras of time where, you know, you were pretty much vindicated in this moment now that cannabis is taken out of its villainhood of this green stuff will ruin you, you know,
You smoking that stuff.
Exactly. You know, so once we got kind of past that, it's about how are we educating people about it. While no one has to do anything, like no one's forcing you, no one's saying you have to love it, you have to want to participate, but it is, how do I better understand it? How do I know the benefits of it? How does this help people? Because there's a whole scope and a whole lane of people who use medical cannabis for health reasons. They're using it for their treatments with cancer. They're using it for treatments with ailments that cause, like, they don't eat well. They're not able to consume food. That helps with that. People who don't sleep because of the pain that they experience. So pain management. So there's so many aspects where it was like, well, yes, you've heard what you heard, but how do we communicate it and make sure you understand the benefits of it, but also being safe about it? Like, it's not just for the party usage. It's like, how do you use it safely? How do you make sure it's away from children? How do we ensure that you're consuming it in a way that doesn't impact anyone else around you and cause issues in other ways? So there's, again, multiple lanes. So that's my current lane of public health. But who's to say the next couple of years I'll be somewhere else pushing public health in another way.
listening to you talk about it's like going to, you know, middle school health class when you find out the technical terms for all that stuff you've been saying before. Like cannabis, what is that? What are you talking about? Talking about, now I'm catching on to what that means. That's the technical term.
Exactly.
I didn't know. Yeah. So look, before we go into any more, the next question, I want to recognize some of the people we got down there because we got some heavy hitters in the chat with us. So of course, Boss B is back there dropping links. Sharon Jackson's in the house, and I'll say, hey, that's my mom. I'll tell you, she'll show up. Jared Talk is here. What's up, Jared? And Eric Etheridge is in the house. So my man Triple E is in here. So Aqua Funk's in the house, and thank you, Aqua Funk, for being here. And Captain Johnson is here. So we got a couple of people that's here. Ellen Smiles in the house. So thank you all for being here. We got Alex Young here. She's dropping some knowledge on us about, this health itself, and that there's people that go out and help educate and make sure that it's fair across the board, and some of those other things that is very important. And I appreciate what I'm learning right now, for sure. So now, you said you were post Katrina. Were you post COVID-19, or was it pre-COVID or post-COVID? So how did that work for you?
So COVID, I was here in Prince George's County in the thick of it. It's always funny for me when I think back to how I got into emergency preparedness with the county. It was definitely a role where I think the leadership there, I was a stretch hire. I didn't look like the usual folks. I didn't come from the normal response areas. I didn't come from fire. I didn't come from the police background. I didn't come from a military background. I came from public health. That was something they rarely touched, again, because public health was in the health department. So I think they could see that it was something there, but they didn't know what for. So I always remember kind of coming in and they're like, we don't really know how you work here, but we can see something there. And so I came there in 2019. And COVID came 2020. So they've never been, emergency management has never been the ones called for a public health emergency, but we've also never had a public health emergency that required a response this large. So it was kind of the perfect timing. It worked just right because I was able to give a perspective that emergency management wouldn't have normally had, especially in-house. So being as emergency management were the lead responding agency, had to work with the health department, but being able to kind of be the liaison in the middle of, no, when the health department says that, no, really, you do have to do that. Like, we do have to kind of follow these routes because emergency management is like, get it done, respond, recover. Like, they're response people, the guys are response guys, they're firefighters, they're police. That's what they do, but never really having to see people in this type of way because there's not a active fire. There's not an active scene. This is something that's kind of happening in the background. It's happening within people. So it kind of it hit different. So once kind of being in that role, I think I was able to bring that unique perspective of how we should address this and how we can kind of come at it with a place of empathy. How do we respond in a way that allows us to bring communities together? How does it allow us to work together better? Because there was a lot of collaboration required. COVID was bigger than anything we could have ever imagined. And so being responsible for leading the charge where we have to work with the health department, we have to work with social services, we have to work with the neighboring counties, we have to work with these nonprofit organizations, we have to work with everybody, all in a way that the end goal is how do we help the people? And again, without seeing an emergency that looked like something they were used to and what people were used to as an emergency. So it was kind of understanding the nuance because we've had epidemics before. There's epidemics that happen in public health every day. The flu takes out a lot of seniors every year. We don't talk about it. There's the bird flu. It happens in a small sector. They're big things and they're handled a certain way. But this was like the first time where there was the political aspect. There was large scopes of people. There were resources that were limited. There were finding locations, buildings, access to things. It was just so many pieces that were so nuanced that looked like a standard epidemic, but we had never had to deal with it in the framework that we saw it in. So I was pre, during, post COVID, I was all of it.
It's amazing that there's still so many people that don't even believe that it was real. So having someone who
Yeah.
actually been through it and dealt with it on that side, and we have you on our show talking to us about it, it's huge because, like I say, there are people that to this day, and it's probably some listeners that didn't believe that it was real. Why did we have to do that? And it did change. It changed our world. It changed how the industry that I work in now. It just changed how we looked at our person. We didn't look, we looked at a house different than we did before, because the house became the job, the house became schools, the house, it wasn't just a regular home anymore. No different than like I say, a firefighter, a police officer. And you say, okay, well, you just go into this house. No, well, that house is someone's job right now. That house is someone's school right now, because that's where we were all, sheltered in place. Couldn't go to the hospitals. I mean, and it wasn't just Maryland in the United States.
Exactly.
We're talking worldwide. We were jammed up, and that in itself was amazing. So thank you for your work with that. So was it a time that you felt like just saying, forget about it? Why did I put myself in this? I wish I'd have took PE or something in school. Did you ever change it or think about changing your mind while you was in it?
No, honestly, this was probably the most invigorated I've ever felt. Like, this was actually the first time I felt like you were able to see what you've learned about and put it into action. So frequently, you work a job, you do a little bit, you do a little small subsection. Like, I've read about how we do this, but you do this little bit, you feel good. But this was like the first time where all the pieces kind of came into play. And I felt like, oh, I want to be here. Like, I want to do this all the time. I mean, we had very long hours during COVID. Like, I mean, I probably worked more in that time span than I did most of my life, in actual work. I mean, I'd be there from the top of the morning to the end, 11 o'clock at night, come back in, I'm ready to do it. I was doing social media at the time for the agency. I'm doing communications, I'm writing posts. Like, it was amazing. It was like all the pieces came together. So honestly, I enjoyed my time there. Like, it felt like you were able to really have an impact, and you saw the impact. You were able to see how people received you. As we created programs, you saw the community come and say, thank you. We were waiting for this. We didn't think this would happen. When you were able to kind of talk to the people in line as they waited, you felt all of it all come together, and the culmination of like all your work, all those hours happening. And it was every day. It was every day you're at a new location, at a new site, and you're hearing that conversation. You're hearing like, we didn't even know what was going on, but we appreciate this. Thank you for communicating. Thank you for reaching out. So seeing all that come together was, like I said, invigorating, to say the least.
No, that's really is cool. So what do you believe is probably was the most, I would say, overlooked things that, like you say, I know we were standing in line. I know we were, and I don't want to just, bring all COVID, but that was the biggest thing that we faced even in my lifetime. I know we had a lot of stuff going on, and I'm no spring chicken, but I'm over 50 years old, but I had never seen anything like this. But the overlooked, as far as what you think we just, as far as what you were doing, was it necessary? That's what I'm sure a lot of people question that. Now, do I have to do this? And what is this going to do? So what do you believe was one of the most overlooked barriers, I guess, during that time, or even in the job you're doing today?
I would always say, especially during COVID, a barrier that we didn't always think about is communication. You know, while we are probably the most connected we've ever been as a society, as a community,
Yes.
but when it came to the pandemic, because communication wasn't centralized, it was hard for people to know what was facts. It was hard for us to communicate where things were. It was hard, even just communicating within communities. So you have a senior facility. How are you making sure everybody in that facility knows where the clinics are going to be? How are we making sure we're communicating what the county exec is saying? But again, I think that big issue was the lack of centralized communication. That barrier made work so much harder for us. Like, you know, from a federal level, you had communications. We didn't have a aligned response as a country. So South Carolina's doing something, you know, Maryland's doing something different. Montgomery County's doing something different than Prince George's County. It was a bunch of information. And for the average person, yes, we've always known we can trust a certain source. But when all the sources are not necessarily saying the same thing, what source becomes superior? Are we listening to the CDC? Do we listen to the federal government? Do I listen to my local health department? Do I listen to my friend down the street who normally knows a lot of information? YouTube became a thing. Lots of people knew a lot of things about nothing. So it was a lot of communication issues where it was hard. So one of the big things I would say from like my role and just the county in itself was trying to get a centralized voice and a voice where people could trust it. You know, we're the first people to tell you if there's a problem, hey, this place is not going to open today. We told you. You didn't hear it from somebody down the street. You didn't hear it through the grapevine. We told you. So when you establish that you're a trusted source, it helped. But we could have never tackled all the pieces because it started wrong from the top. We've had communication disjointed from the day it kicked off. It was a bunch of information. And then addressing misinformation while providing information, while creating trust, it's a job in itself, while actually trying to respond and address things that are happening. As you probably can imagine, it's a full-time job that many people didn't even have the time for, but you know, you do your best. But communication will probably always be our downfall. And again, as connected as we are now, communication is still hard because misinformation tends to spread way faster than factual information.
Now, do you believe it's because of social media? I know you mentioned, you know, YouTube, and I know TikTok and Instagram, Facebook. So all of those different sources, I can get the word out a whole lot faster than you were putting it out, you know, and I can make it up. I mean, with AI and a social media platform, I could put anything out there, you know. So, you know, you're telling me to, you know, I need to go here and get this, and I could just drink a cap of bleach and I'll be okay. So it's all good, you know. That's where we at. So. But so do you believe that was a problem as far as, or do you still believe that's a problem, regardless of COVID, that to say anything that misinformation is being put out because of social media? Is that a issue that you're dealing with?
Oh, yeah. Misinformation, I think, it's probably the biggest barrier we will continue to see as we move forward. Again, because we've given so many people platforms and a voice, and it doesn't take much to be the loudest in the room. So the information that comes from that source doesn't always have to be factual. So I think that will forever be a barrier. I think there might be a potential that we will find ways to fact check or have these things built into it. Like I know some of the social media sites, when someone has posted something, there's like that automatic response or review that says, this has been debunked. This has been found as not to be factual. Well, yeah, I think that helps because in social media, one thing during COVID, like that was my role as one of the people who were younger. I saw that the quicker ways to reach people are social media. They're on all day. You know, Twitter was the biggest thing at that time. It was, you're watching news in real time through social media. You know, you had those Black Twitter spaces. You had these spaces where that's where we all convened to share information. When we had those riots and we had all the racial things happening, you went to social media because that was where you saw you could get the firsthand information that wasn't watered down, that wasn't misconstrued by how the public likes to make certain stories hit. That's where we saw it. So yes, it works great in some instances when it's based off facts. When it starts to come with people throwing in their personal opinions, their conspiracy theorists, what they've heard from around the way, that's when it gets hard. And I think it'll continue to be a difficult thing, especially with AI. AI is a great tool. I think it can be used in so many facets. I think it makes a lot of the things we do easier. It helps, streamline things, but it can also be like most things we've seen in technology. Technology will make or break things within society. So I think AI has that potential. We've seen the videos made using someone's voice. They're not true. They didn't make it. So I think those kind of the parallel sides of this can be a really great tool, but it can also be wielded in a way that will ruin everything we know about true and honest information sharing. So I think we will always struggle until we can put some type of controls on it. But I also know controls are hard because you face those, again, barriers of how do you control information? Is information being overly controlled? How we ensure that, the truth is still coming out without it being, filtered through these certain lenses and that fit society's expectation of what you say about things. So I think it'll always be difficult, but one thing is always, I tell people, discernment, it's a gift. Everybody doesn't have it, but research you can do, and use sources that can be trusted. Like, sometimes we come across that site and you're like, this looks like a news site, but is this site a actual news site? What is it based off of? So yeah, is it a little more work? Yes. But for someone like myself, I like to speak from truth. I like to be able to stand on what I say. I don't like having to backtrack. So I look for those things, but I encourage people also to go to places, start there, like start with the CDC. While we know things aren't always the best, but then from there, look at the sources. Go to the article, go to the research article, go to these places and find the true, honest answers to things versus just kind of riding off of what you've heard, what you saw on Facebook, that link sent to that person, and it'll spread like wildfire.
100%. We're down, even sending someone, if you're sharing an article of anything, it's almost like a college paper now. You got to cite your sources. Like, I need you to cite your sources. Don't just send me that. Don't send me that. Cite your sources. Where did you get this from? Because it's definitely crazy out there. So those are in the chat. We thank you. If you haven't hit the like button, make sure you hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. We have Alex Young on, and she has definitely been dropping a lot of knowledge with us. So Alex, I'm gonna ask you this. You're an author, so you have a book. So can you tell us a little bit about your book? And I do have a picture of the book, so I can put that up on the screen, but I'm gonna ask you to give us a little behind the scenes about the book. So let me get it up there, and you can tell us a little bit about it, if you don't mind.
Sure. So yes, I'm a new author. As of July 15th, I published my first book. It's called Growing Independence, a Black woman's journey of unlearning. So the title was blossomed out of a therapy session I had with my therapist back in maybe like early 2020, honestly. And it was one thing about me. I'm an only child. I thrive off independence. I like to be able to do what I have to do myself. I take great pride in it, but something that I had to work on was learning to depend on others. It doesn't come easy. It's not second nature for me. It's not third nature for me, honestly. It takes a lot of work. But over these last few years, it just really I kept seeing it in places. It almost was like a mantra where I saw it in one spot and it was affirmed in another spot. Like, I have to learn to depend on people. So that title in itself is about growing in dependence and learning to depend on others. But the story is, part biography, part story, part reflection, a little bit of everything, as it tells the story of a young Black woman's journey from a super hyper independent lifestyle to learning to be more dependent. And so, with that, it talks about embracing your vulnerability, learning to really embrace what rest is and how rest impacts you and encourages you to really just kind of see that for itself. And one big piece about it is breaking away from the strong Black woman trope. A lot of Black women, I would even say Black and brown women, the way we're raised is that independent side, because we are expected to be strong. We're expected to be resilient. We're expected to hold all these ideals while doing it ourselves, but oftentimes forgetting the important pieces of what really is strength is finding your softness, being vulnerable, taking time to rest really makes the strength of a Black woman. So getting away from those ideals was something that I had to work on, because I want to be the strongest person in the room. I want to make sure you understand and feel the strength that comes from me, but it also slowly but surely breaks you down over time. It's hard to be the hardest person all the time. So really finding softness over the years, finding places to be vulnerable, finding ways to be vulnerable, and just really finding rest. I found like rest is a big piece that we often forget as a Black community in general. We always want to keep up. We want to be a part of the race. We know we have to kind of stay 12 steps ahead to be in the game, but rest, you can't continue to run if you don't have time to rest. So really embracing that over time has helped shape the book and the overall understanding of finding those key pieces help you to continue to be the strong pillar that most Black women are in their communities, in their families, is by finding those spaces.
Okay. Wow. I'm looking at Eric Etheridge made a comment, rest has to be intentional. So it's like you have to intend to do it. Like I have to,
Absolutely.
yeah. So yeah, that's it. So now how help me walk me through the steps of writing a book. So I've never written a book before. So was it a difficult journey? One, you had you're talking to a therapist, the idea hit you, and it's like, okay, then what was the steps from that?
Yeah, so I'll say the title came to me first. Like I remember writing it in my journal with my therapist early on, because I knew that's what I was trying to do. Like I was trying to grow independence. And that was like, that's what I'm aiming for. That's what I'm working towards. That's what the point of these conversations are, is how do I work towards that? Now, the process of actually writing the book came much later. I will say, like, all my life, throughout elementary to college, I've always enjoyed writing. Writing is something I like to do. I think I communicate better with written word than oral word. So I know, don't be shocked. Well, but I find that it's easier for me to communicate because I often have a lot to say, but I feel like I can be more intentional when I'm writing the information versus when I'm trying to talk it. Because when I'm talking, I'm usually trying to be succinct. I don't want to talk forever. I don't want to say a bunch of stuff, but when I can write it, I can give you everything I'm trying to say. So I've always been a writer in that instance. So for me, it was kind of, I would say, 2024. Like you put a little couple pieces down. Like this part will be important. Like understanding these concepts are kind of there, but it wasn't until 2025, well, into 24, 25, where it was like, okay, let me try to put it all together. And because it's part my story, and mostly my story, it's easier to write the story because most of these things happened to me. This was my childhood. This was my upbringing. This is what happened here. So all the facts are pretty much my life story, but there's some nuances that I've changed in there. Some things that, one thing about the book, I did take myself out of it in the way of, I didn't want it to read as though there's a specific person, I wanted it to be broad enough that anybody who read it could see themselves within this story, as broadly of, hey, I remember growing up in a place, seeing Black women in my family having to leave the household and what that resiliency looked like. Boom. I can remember what it's like going to colleges and institutions and having to stand on your own and be that person. Boom. I remember being in a workplace and having to occupy space in a way that you had to be strong, but also manage all these ideals and stereotypes that came with being a Black woman in the office. Boom. So like those larger concepts were there, but again, lots of little pieces of my story intertwined within it. Some extras in there too, just to make the story flow good. But that process of writing that story, then from there, finding a publisher was an important piece. Then from there, you go through all the edits, all the conversations of, well, maybe this part doesn't make sense. Let's put this here, move that there. A lot of back and forth within the publishing realm of the book itself. And then from there, I mean, the cover itself took me far too long, honestly, but I had a vision. I knew what I wanted it to look like, and I wasn't compromising. So something I learned growing independent, I got to stand on what I want, and this is what I need from these people, knowing I couldn't do it myself. How do I depend on them, but make sure they fulfill what I'm looking for? Again, part of the whole journey throughout the whole publishing process.
All right. Well, thank you on that. So you mentioned that you were married and you have a daughter and one on the way. As you, I think you said you're looking to deliver soon. So,
Yes.
okay. So I just want to make sure I got it right. So now, do you believe with your book and now your home, your household, that you can pass knowledge to your daughter and then the child coming in, even your husband? Because I'm sure some way in your book you can explain your point of view to your husband and like, okay, now I can understand what you're going through or what's going on. So can you use your book as a tool to help pass that knowledge on for the next generation or even your partner? Yes.
Absolutely. My partner, he helped me as I have really gotten to growing independent. He is very much so the man of the household. Hard for me. I grew up with a single mother, so it's hard to be like, yeah, that's your job. That wasn't really my thing. But once I met him, it was really, that softness was required. It was like, okay, finally meeting someone where I felt like I could be soft. I felt like I can allow you to lead. You're showing me things that say, you got this. If I ask you, you're going to do this. So he really helped me kind of move in that direction of growing independence and depending on him to be exactly who he's supposed to be. But with that, when it came to my husband, he had a daughter already. So with her, I'm able to see the changes in myself. So when I'm having conversations with her and helping to lead her, those conversations are, you don't have to do this all by yourself. And I genuinely believe it. Like, I'm not just saying it because that's what you're supposed to say to a kid. It's like, no, honestly, take it from me. You don't have to do this yourself. You can depend on the people in this household. I'm here. Your father's here. We are here to support you. If you feel like you don't know something, you need help with something, it doesn't cost anything to open up your mouth and say, hey, I need some help. I don't like this. I feel it some kind of way. And really encouraging her to embrace her feelings, her emotions, and not to become what so many of young Black women become, someone who has to suppress their feelings. People who can't, we're not allowed to emote, as Black women. You emote too much, you're the angry Black woman. You fit into a stereotype. But finding ways to say, well, absolutely, you can feel your emotions. How do you process your emotions? How do you find your softness? How do you become vulnerable? How do you do all these things? And how do I support you now so that by the time you become the working woman, you understand that, you embrace that, and you can navigate working spaces or just spaces in general with a different lens. So no, it comes up all the time.
No, I got you. Now, do you find that to be a woman thing, or is it? I know you saying, you know, as a Black woman, but and you can only speak as a Black woman because you are.
Right.
But from your research and the things that you experience, do you find that to be a woman thing, where it's hard to turn over? I don't say turn over the reins, but you know, give that independence, because a lot of people they have had to step up and do the job of, you know. And sometimes they say two. And I hear it, you know, it's like, you know, I'm by myself, I'm doing this, and like, you know, sometimes, and I can tell you as a man, and you'll be a number one candidate for the battle of the sexes. I'm hearing
Whoa,
you
Big
right
Jack,
now.
easy,
Yeah,
easy,
so
man,
we got
easy, man,
yeah,
easy.
yeah, 100%. So maybe that's
Yeah,
September.
man, you already not participating, and now you want to stack the daggone deck on the other team, man. Come on, man, what are you doing?
Look, I'm listening to the story, and I'm like, man, shoot.
Bro,
All right. So, but and that's why I'm more like, do you see it as like you said, if you're sitting as a leader in corporate world, as a woman, is it harder? I mean, we hear that it's harder, but from your point of view, you know, you're telling me something. We're talking about even with COVID. That's talking about even any type of health situation that's going on, and I'm looking at you as a woman telling me I have to wear my mask, as a woman telling me I have to stay inside, as a woman telling me, so I'm not listening to you. Now, I might listen to Walt say that, but I'm not listening to you. So
well, that's a whole nother conversation.
yeah, I'm saying, so is that one of those things that you had to face, and I'm going to read about that in your book. Is that something I'm going to see?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, you know, as the song says, it's a man's world. So a lot of times we are faced with the barrier beyond just being a Black woman, a woman in general. Like, so much of our society is patriarchal. It's based off the male perspective. And a lot of the things have been like that. And, you know, where we are as a people, we're working towards finding ways to ensure you see women as equals. We still got some work to do. We still got a lot going on. And not to say that it'll change in the next 5 years. We can keep striving for it. But I do think a lot of times in corporate world, in spaces, it's a lot of times male led, and trying to change the perspective and understand. That's why our Black women, we're the most educated. We know we have to come in rooms more prepared. We have to be able to stand on what we're saying, not just as, oh, we did go to school the same amount as you went to school, but now I have to go a little bit further so I can show you that I am the trusted voice. I know what I'm talking about. And in instances I've run into where your voice becomes like a background sound. Some guy will say the same thing, and it's like, by golly, that's it. And I'm like, that's the same thing I just said. But almost like with how we deal with racism and things like that, allies are important. So in the book, it talks like having an ally who is a male who understands that, yeah, I need to be supported, and here's how you can support me in ensuring that people respect my voice and my position here. So sometimes that looks like, hey, if you see I'm raising an issue, support me. You know, hey, what she said is true. What she says should be listened to. What she says, because it kind of just gives you just that enough boost where people can say, well, if I trust what he's saying, I can then trust what she's saying. Now, that's just how you start. And without having the allies, yeah, it's an uphill battle. It's constantly fighting for your space in the room, fighting for your seat at the table so that people respect what you're saying and know it to be true. But like I said, I think the first step is by finding allies. So someone like Walt, if I'm in a room, Walt's going to say,
I got her
hey,
back.
I need y'all to be quiet real quick. Alex is probably about to say something. And
That's
that
what it
helps.
is.
And it doesn't just feel good. It's like, you know that this person is here to support you, but also they will speak well of you in the rooms where it's the guys' room, it's the boys' club. You need people who are constantly speaking well and speaking highly so that it kind of reinforces what you're saying in the boardroom. because we know that's how conversations and things work. There's always conversations behind the scenes. There's always the conversation that happens under the table. There's the handshake agreements, there's the deals, but having someone who can advocate for you helps.
That's right.
It's not always there. Sometimes you got to do it yourself. You got to kick down the door, bring your own feet, and take it. But it helps to have someone who can support you from the other side while you're going through it.
Thank you. So, Walt, as the
Yes,
president of the Alex
and you
fan
see why I'm
club,
the president of the club fan club now, right?
Wow.
So let me just reiterate a couple of things here. First of all, I had the pleasure of working with her at emergency management in Prince George's County. And so I came out of retirement after 7 years of retirement. And I worked with a crew that was a phenomenal crew, man. And when I say she was absolutely right, it was made up of mostly retired firefighters, police officers. The majority of us were retired firefighters and police officers from jurisdictions in the region. And Alex is who she is, and she was the youngest. And I'm an only child like her, and we have a lot in common, but man, she's tough as nails. And when I tell you, if Iron Sharpening Iron were a group of people, that bullpen that we were in and the conversations that we had during COVID, I mean, mostly work related, but a lot of personal stuff too, but just it kind of all meshed together. Man, it was incredible. And she could hold her own, you know, and she earned the respect of everyone there. So that's why we, and I speak on behalf of the guys in the bullpen, we take credit for where she is right now. Let's be clear about that. Because, man, I'm going to tell you, man, hey, look, I told her, Alex, when you get out of here with all this information, just you got to use your powers for good. Because, hey, man, and plus we told her she had been here before, because she's like, you know, I don't know where you got all this information from. You must have been ear hustling with your grandparents and your parents a long time, you know, getting in grown folks, listening to grown folks conversations without getting into them properly, because she's very, very knowledgeable and she's been here before. But she's tough, she's resilient, and she's smart, and she stands her ground. And man, you know, to me, I just respect that. That's the way I want my daughter. That's the way I raised my daughter to be. That's the way and my mother was. That's the way I encourage any woman in my life to be, because you got to, you know, you have to be able to stand your ground. And you know, and for lack of a better word, you know, you can't be no punk about it. You know what I mean? You gotta stand up. So she was all of that without being rude, without being disrespectful, and all of that. And then on top of that, she knows the stuff. So we all supported her. I would like to be able to take the credit, but no, man, she had a room of guys who basically raised her. And when I say raised her, I mean like if we even thought someone else was giving her the business, she had so many brothers looking out for her, man. It was kind of funny, man, because she was like little sister to the whole building, you know. So we all, man, kind of poke our chest out now because she is doing well, and we are proud of her. And like I said, man, I didn't have to say a word. In some of the conversations that we've had, I mean, we've had some tough ones. I mean, like right out the gate. I mean, like I'm a week there, and we've had some tough conversations, man. And man, the amount of respect that I have for her is tremendous. So, like I said, I'm biased, and that's why I'm the president of the Alex Young fan club, and that's what it is. So,
all right,
yeah, 100%.
That's what's good. So, I mean, really, that's really cool. So, Alex, we talked a lot about the business side of you. So, I'm sure it's not all business. So, I heard through, I guess, a fan club or whatever that you're a dancer and a rapper and all that good stuff. So,
no, you say rapper, man.
You're a dancer and a rapper. Is that
you gotta read the book. You gotta read the book, man. She can dance. She was what do you call that? What was that? Not a major rep. What was that, Alex? What were you? What did you do?
I just did competition dance, like regular.
Competition dance. There you go.
But yeah, no, I mean, I might take rapper, and I tell my husband all the time, I'm like, if I hadn't gone this route, you know, the college route, I feel like rapper could have been my alternative career. Like, I mean, that's really my thing. But I think, you know, the Lord knew what was best. That's probably not best for me. But dancer, I grew up dancing. I danced from the age of like 3 up and through college. So ballet, tap, jazz, point, everything. Ballet was my jam. It's very structured. It kind of fits with who I am. It's a very structured sport. But I always loved dancing. Music is a part of me. I feel like I always got a song on my heart. So, excuse me, that's who I am. I mean, rappers, I don't rap, but I can rap a song that I'm good. I'm good with it.
Her wordplay is phenomenal.
I'm listening to her and I'm like, okay, if I was going to give her a name, it'd be Little A.Y. Little A.Y. She gonna be a rap star.
Yeah,
I would say more like I don't know, maybe like Little Magic. Nah. See, hey, look, man, let me get this out the way now, man. She's in the room with a bunch of guys, most of us retired, probably 30 years or senior. So, you know, when we have these conversations on music and rap and R&B and it's just hilarious, man. So, you know, she's pretty much aware because she's been ear hustling her whole life of all of the rappers and R&B singers from our generation, but she's schooling us on, putting us on game for, you know, on the new guys. And I'll never forget, I called Facebook Spacebook one day, and I told her, if you want more information, you can check me out on my MySpace page. And man, I was joking, of course, because you know I'm really up on these things.
Right.
And man, she lit me up. So we just always, man, the back and forth between the crew, and her wordplay is phenomenal. So definitely a poet and a rapper and all that stuff could play, man. She's got that talent, man. So yeah. So I can't wait till Little Young is born and she tells her to turn that music down and back in my day and starts telling all old people stories and all that kind of stuff. I'm looking forward to that so I could tell him or her that look, your mother was in our business a lot too. So
hey, I'm looking forward to it as well. I look forward to imparting that type of knowledge on them.
Yeah.
So we have an Olivia Vons in the chat, and said, as Alex's mother, I am proud of her, and thank you for allowing her to be here tonight. I am super. I'm grateful that she's on our stage tonight. I remember when we decided to set this up, she was like, "You need to hurry up because there's only a little bit of time left for this month before I'm gonna be out." So
told you, Jack.
Yeah. So I am super excited about that, and I'm glad that that your mom is here supporting. You know, that means a lot to know that. You know, I always look at it like this. You know, the person that's on the stage telling the truth. They're not sitting there fluffing us up because the mom's sitting right there. So like, if I got to go to the family reunion and explain it, what I just did on this show. So, you know, so that's, you know, so it's good that when I see the parents come in and people that know you come in, because it's like, he ain't fluffing, he's telling the truth. And that's what it's about. Because you have a hard job. I mean, this is the part that we talked about. I know it's a hard job because it was hard for us to believe that we were in the situation that we were in. And I'm talking about COVID. It was no different when we went through as a country 9/11 and all any other situation that go on, because it's like, it's hard to believe that it's happening. You're telling me I'm walking in a grocery store and there's no toilet paper. There's no Lysol cans. There's no hand sanitizer. There's no way that this is happening. And it is. And it's like, wow. And for you to, I don't know if you were calm, if you was yelling in a bullhorn or what, saying, back up, there's no toilet paper here. I don't know. But whatever you were doing, I personally want to say thank you for doing it, because it's one of those jobs that we just didn't realize, because you know it was happening, you just didn't know who was doing it. And to actually meet someone who was on the front lines in that way and hear the story and the passion. And for your mom to say she's proud. I mean, it's very rare that you see people that actually go to school and do what they went to school for. So you're like, so you're like, okay, you can do this thing. You're in the pamphlet of that major in your college. Like, it can work.
Right.
You know, this thing, you can actually get a job. You can do some things. You can change lives. and that's what you're in. So I'm excited for you, and I'm so glad to be able to meet you here on the show. I'm wishing you nothing but well with your next adventure, because I know having being married and having a child, that became an instant family for you. So that was a lot of change that you had to go through with that. But now you're getting ready to go through another change, and it's going to be from a man's side of it is, I'm gonna say fun for you. And now I see a Howard Young just popped in. Howard Young just
There
popped
he
in.
is,
So there it
the
is.
man
So
himself,
yeah, there it is.
the
So I'm
man
assuming
himself,
the Young, as a proud husband, that's pretty cool
the
to see that.
man
Exactly.
himself. Hey,
Yeah, yeah,
I've been
yeah.
rooting
So
for this man a long time, Big
all
Jack. He
right,
never.
right.
Hey,
Okay.
my man. Yes, sir.
No,
Yes,
no.
sir.
So no, that's what's up. So and it's you can see. I don't know if you can see what's going on. I put it up there so you can see it. But as a proud husband, I hope that everyone has a blessing. That has the blessing of having a partner like Alex in their life. Just have the feeling each
My
day. So
man.
that's pretty cool. That really is
My
Yeah.
pretty
man.
cool. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's and but a good thing is it's funny when I was pastoring. I'm gonna throw this out there. It's Big Jacket story time. I gotta share it. But I used to tell people if you wanted to know if the minister was telling the truth, look at his wife. If you want to know if it could have been a female minister, look at the husband. Because if they're
Right.
sitting over there in the front pew with the lips crossed and the arms crossed, looking like, you don't do that at
Amen.
home. It's like, but for them to put extra stuff in the chat and all. And I thank you, Howard Young, for being here and helping out,
Man.
being in the chat and watching this. It's been really cool. So I'm glad to have Alex here with us. And again, so Walt, you got anything else? Because
Hey man, I just would say this: read the book, and I will say, if doing the work, so to speak, were a person, you're looking at her right here.
mm,
And when I read the book, it made a lot of sense. Like the first thing I told her was, look, understand this. Tough cookies crumble the hardest, crumble the fastest, So you
Mhm.
don't have to be a tough cookie. You understand? I mean, you need to be tough, but you got to be flexible, right? So these are just things you say to a person because you see that she's standing on business, right?
mm,
And I tell you what, I keep forgetting that she was only there a year before me, maybe not even a year, you
mm,
Yeah.
know. But man, during COVID, we had such a great, the camaraderie in that office was incredible. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun, a lot of jokes. And, I remember the first time I coughed in the office.
get out of here.
The first time I coughed in the office, man, and I think I'm still choking on Lysol, man. I mean, it's like, but those are the things that you have to do in those times to get through what you need to get through. But even working with the health department and setting up test sites and then setting up COVID sites and even for me on a personal level, my mother was in the nursing home at the time.
Mm,
So I would have still been probably still working there, but when she came out of quarantine, I couldn't go back. I couldn't renew my contract because I can't go to the nursing home to see my mother after leaving COVID sites. I can't go to the nursing
mm,
home every day after leaving the
Mhm.
COVID site. So it just kind of worked out, man. But God put me in a good place. He brought me out of retirement at the right time. I learned an incredible lot, man. I learned an awful lot. And I
mm,
appreciate you, Alex, for coming on. I appreciate you trusting me and telling me this would be a perfect opportunity for you to come on. I definitely appreciate that.
yeah.
And Big Jack, I appreciate you trusting me and
Hey,
with Alex and to your mom, to Howard. Salute, congratulations, and I'm sure this baby's gonna have a lot of love. So we
oh
got a
yeah.
lot of people
Look,
pulling for
I'm
you,
looking
man.
at it now, Walt. I mean, as you saying, I'm looking at it because now we got was that GD saying Alex may have a soft girl, may be a soft girl now, but there's absolutely no fluff about her.
I
She
got
is
scars to prove it.
realistic.
We got, I got hurt feelings to prove it. I mean, I can, I have hurt feelings to prove it. So,
And look, and this is a rare time. This is rare right here because that's probably the
oh man,
first
hey
time I've
man,
seen something like this. But a brother-in-law coming up on, so
there
Roger
you go.
Young is
Yeah,
so that says a lot about the person we have on the stage when you're getting brother-in-laws and moms and husbands and all coming and supporting and saying good things. So I'm definitely excited again for
definitely.
you and where you're going, Alex, and all that you're doing. we definitely want you get back into wanting to come back on stage if you can, because you're definitely a Hall of Famer now. But we got to get you on that panel for the Battle of the Sexes, because I would love to see you go against Team Walt. I would love to see you go against Team Walt.
I would love to myself, because we've had enough of these.
No. No. Let me explain something to you. If Alex comes on, Sharon and Veronica cannot be on.
Oh man, okay.
Oh man, the three of them together.
Well, we already know Sharon will be there. So,
man, and Sharon and Alex have a lot in common, man.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. So and Veronica, I haven't had as many conversations with, but trust me, man, I think that you'd be stacking the deck. And Jack, I think you need to take that striped shirt off and come out of retirement.
I know where to stand. I know where my spot at. So before we do close out the show, Walt, and those in the chat, we thank you for being here with us and hanging out. If you haven't hit that like button, please hit the like button. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, please hit the subscribe button. If you didn't watch this whole show, you missed parts of it, you missed some major parts. So go back and rewatch it and make sure that you hit this thing and share it with your friends. Share it out. Tell people, hey, you need to check this out. Check out this Iron Sharpening Iron Show, because we're delivering real topics, real people, real talk, because we are stronger together. And if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. But before I go, I want to show this one more time. If you have not done so, make sure you go. Where can we find the book? Where can we find it, Alex?
It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Barnes & Noble, Amazon. Go out there. I know that Boss B in the back dropping links, and I'm not sure if Boss B is ready to come up on the stage. But if she is, put your camera on so I can see and make sure everything's straight. Okay, there she go. All right. So with that being said, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, get the book. We want to hear and see about growing independence, a Black woman's journey of unlearning. And that, that's wild.
Man,
so Alexandra D. Young is the author of that. So we're going to bring B up on the stage. And let me pull the book down real quick. Put B up on the stage. There you go, B. What you got for us?
Hey there. I got us a list tonight. We got Budget Bliss Journey, Ellen Smiles. She was in both our chats. Edward Johnson, Sharon Jackson, Niecy Jackson, Jarrett Talks, Aqua Funk, Triple E, Eric Etheridge. The Aquatic News Network, Blessed to Crochet, Anthony My Time. And we had some special guests, Olivia Vaughns, Howard Young, Roger Young, and GD.
Absolutely.
All right. So we thank you all. We thank you all for being here with us, hanging out with us on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. Alex, if you can hang back just for a little bit when we close out, we appreciate it. We'll definitely see you. What is today? Today is Sunday? Okay, so we'll see you Wednesday. I'll be forgetting. I really do. So Wednesday, August 20th, we got
and they say I'm the old guy.
Yeah, look, yeah. Ruthie Wilson will be our guest. Beautiful person. Looking forward to having her on. We got Our Cherished Church. That's Cheryl Patton. She'll be here on the 24th. Then we get into the Battle of the Sexes. That's on the 27th. We Be Jamming Live will be the 30th, and the Gentleman's Journal will be the 31st. So we got a busy rest of this month, but I'm looking forward to having all y'all hang out with us and to come in. I see GD said great conversation, so I appreciate that. That's sometimes what we need to know. We had a good conversation. So we've done our job for today. Iron has sharpened iron. I've definitely learned a lot, so I appreciate it.
And so have I.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And we're looking forward to having you back on once you have your, once you get back in position to come up on the stage, because I am looking 100% and looking for you to face off against Walt. So
absolutely. No, I appreciate you guys having me. It's been a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. So Niecy Jackson just made it say, Walt, turn that Temu Wi-Fi from.
See?
She's cracking. She said, your Temu, get rid of.
So let's get this straight. Big Jack is hitting the pause button on me, trying to make me look bad. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. That's what's happening.
That's all. Look,
And
hey,
on a budget, that's all I can afford, I guess.
that's it. That's it. That's
But-
it. Look, as much as we say Timu, they need to be sending us something. So if you listening, Timu, if you're listening, Timu, you need to start delivering. we hyping y'all up on the regular, so you need to be delivering.
Man, that's
all right.
funny.
But with that being said,
funny.
we thank you all for being here. Have a great rest of your weekend. And we'll see you Wednesday on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. Alex, again, thank you for being
Thanks,
here. Walt,
Alex.
as usual, thank you for being here.
Right.
E, thank you for all the links you were dropping in the background. But until next
Thank
time,
you.
we talk to you all later. Have a good night and peace.
Peace.